What's up, you guys? Today I'm going to show you how to make a form with React. What I've got here is just a pretty basic form, 2 inputs, and then we have a submit button. And when you submit the form, a message pops up and these forms go blank. What I have in the code is just a blank React app that was created with Vite. All I've added is a main tag, a very simple navbar component, and that. And this navbar is just this and this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a folder to my components folder called form. I'm going to make 2 files. One is form.jsx and another is form.css. I'm going to use a shortcut, and that shortcut is this ES7 React Redux snippets extension on VS Code, and I'm going to import my CSS file. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is add the non-functional form to this. So I've got our form element, and I have 2 divs which are housing a label and an input, and I'm going to add a class of these called form group. And in this I'm going to have a label. First one is name, an input, self-closing. They're going to be a type of text. This is going to have a placeholder that is a name, so just chose Jackson. I don't even know a Jackson. They're both going to be required. Gives you a little error if you don't have anything in the input. And I'm just going to duplicate this for our occupation input. I'm going to say occupation, and the placeholder is going to be accountant. Okay, and then we're going to have below these 2 form groups, we're going to have a submit button, or submit input rather. This one's going to have a type of submit so that it triggers the on submit for the form. We're also going to have a message. For now, it'll always be there. That's just going to say form submitted. And we're going to have a class name, submitted text. So first thing I'm going to do after this is actually add some, no, I'm actually going to add this to the app.jsx because I forgot to do that. So I'm going to go to my app.jsx, bring in the form. This is the path. So there it is without CSS, but I'm going to add some CSS that I have. So here's the CSS. Just going to do a quick scroll. So it looks a bit better now. Now we're going to add some state to this, so it's a little more functional than that. So first piece of state I'm going to add, and I'm going to use the useState hook from React. I'm going to create a state called name, and its setter is called setName, and I'm going to set it equal to a empty string. And I'm going to do the same thing for occupation, empty string. And I'm going to have one more piece of state called submitted message toggled. This is going to be what determines whether or not this message shows. So this is going to be called submitted message toggled. And this is going to be set to false by default. Okay, so now we're going to, oh, I forgot to import useState. So import curly bracket useState from React. So now I'm going to add this, I'm going to tie in this state to the inputs. Since these need to be controlled inputs, I need to add a value attribute, set this first value to the state. So in this case, name. And then I need to add an on change. And in here, I'm going to pass in a function that gives us an event argument. We're going to say, in this function, we're going to say set name to e.target, which is the input itself. And we're going to say .value, which is going to be whatever text we write in this. Now we're going to do the same thing, but for the next input, value of occupation. And instead of set name, we're going to say set occupation. And now we're just going to add this submitted message toggled to this last paragraph tag down here, which is submitted text. We're going to wrap it in curly braces and conditionally render it to the DOM. We're going to say submitted message toggled. This is basically saying if submitted message toggled is true, then render the paragraph tag. So we're going to say submitted message toggled, and that's pretty much short for, in regular JavaScript, you saying if, then do this. So that should go away because it's false right now. we're going to wrap this input in curly brackets as well. This submit button will only show when this is false, or also when you haven't submitted the form yet. If submitted message toggled is false, so notice the exclamation mark right here. Submitted message toggled is false. Render this input. And we're also going to have a disabled attribute on this input because we only want to be able to click submit if our name and occupation fields are filled. So we're going to say disabled if name is falsy or occupation is falsy. So if we don't have a name and if we don't have occupation filled out. Now we're going to add a function that will be called on our onSubmit. We're not going to add that yet, but we're going to add the function that goes in that. So we're going to say function, I'm going to call it handle submit, and this also gets an event or E argument passed into it. So in this function, we're going to have a prevent default method called on the event, because if we don't have this, when we submit the page will reload. So first I'm going to set the name to empty string, basically reset it. Then I'm going to set the occupation to an empty string, basically reset it. And then I'm going to set the submitted message toggled to true, so we get that message to pop up. I'm going to go ahead and plug this handle submit into the form. So I'm going to say onSubmit is equal to this function handle submit, and I'm going to show you what this does. So in this form, I'm going to say Jacob for name, and then occupation is web developer. I'm going to press submit. Name, the fields are going to go blank. Form submitted is showing because of submitted message toggled, but you probably want to reset the form instead of showing this form submitted indefinitely. So what we're going to do, this is going to kind of mimic an asynchronous API call. I'm going to use the set timeout function, pass in a callback, open a block, and say after 5,000 seconds, execute this block. And I'm just going to say after 5,000 seconds, set submitted message toggled back to false. So now I'm going to say Jacob, web developer, submit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Goes away. Like the video if it helped you. Really appreciate it. Subscribe if you'd like. I'm going to keep making these. That's about it though. Have a good one. Peace.